17 of the NoodlKnits podcast. Let me get my show notes. Today is October 27th. Saturday is the 31st. I know that Saturday is Halloween, so Friday is the 30th. So today's the 28th. Sorry for that mental math. Yeah, October 28th, 2015. And I'm Z, and I'm coming to you from currently sunny Louisiana. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as NoodlKnits. I'm also NoodlKnits on Twitter and Periscope. I am very inactive there, and I also have a Facebook page, NoodlKnits, and an Etsy shop, which is NoodlKnits. Sorry, kind of jumping all over the place. For new viewers, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show and become a returning viewer. And for returning viewers, thank you so much for coming back time to time. I know I say it all the time, but it really does mean a lot. So, it is later in the afternoon here. Actually, it's currently noon, which is a lot later in the day than I normally film. So if you hear Rowan playing and stuff, he's awake. Anyways, I'll move on with the show and kind of put all my ramblings at the end if I can save them. So I have 2 FOs this week. So, I forgot to say, I'm so sorry. My show notes for this, all future and all past episodes, can be found at noodleknits.wordpress.com. I also have a blog post there for last week that kind of highlights some of the stuff that I've been working on. Just because it was a bye week, it was a hiatus week, and I kind of felt bad. So I just wanted to put something out there. I did put up a blog post, just kind of talking about some of the things I'm working on. And I'm going to show those. So if you did see that blog post, I'm showing those things today. And only one of them has really gotten any work on it. So anyways, 2 FOs. The first one is Rowan's socks, the little tushy socks. This is not a pattern. I just called them the little tushy socks because we call Rowan a little tushy sometimes. So I think that they're very Halloween-y with the purple and orange. And if you can see them, they're pretty fuzzy because I finished them and wove in all the ends and stuff, and he wanted to wear them. So he wore them most of the day that day. And it's just a basic sock, 44 stitches, 1x1 rib. And I think it's about like a 3.5 inch cuff, and then a fish slips contrast heel, and fish slips kiss contrast heel. And then I think the foot is about 6.5 inches. I think the foot on this one is a little bit longer, so the toe is a little bit loose, but they still fit and he likes them. This is Cascade Heritage Sock, which is a 75% merino, 25% nylon. 75% superwash merino. And it's the Dahlia and Mango colorways. So there's that. And I did those on just a small circumference circular needle. And then my second FO this week is a dishcloth. It's the Pumpkin dishcloth for the Knit Picks. 52 weeks of free dishcloths or something like that. And it's knit. I knit it on, I forgot to bring this over here, but I talked about, a while back, the Susan Bates tipping points needles. They came in, my replacement needles came in, and I used those, which were used to do this. And it's knit flat, but I mean, like, back and forth, but since it starts with like a very small amount of stitches, and then it's a lot of increases, it wants to bowl up, so it really needs like a blocking, but I haven't even washed it or anything, and I'm not going to block it because it's a dishcloth, and there's just no point to me in blocking a dishcloth. So the reason it's blue and white is because I was just using stash yarn. I wanted to have a instant gratification project, so I just kind of dug through my stash. I have a lot of cotton on stash. I think some of it, most of it I just bought. It's cheap is why I bought it, and I was doing dishcloths and stuff, so yeah. So I have a lot of cotton on hand. So this is just Lily, sugar and cream, and denim, and just like solid like cream or something colorway. And that is the Pumpkin Dishcloth by Knit Picks, and it is a free pattern download, and that was really fast. And then I'll talk about whips. I've got, oh, here they are. These are the Susan Bates tipping points needles. You can see here that they, like, I don't know if you can see the holes, but these tips come off and you can change them out. So this is the medium tip, and then there's a blunt tip and a stiletto or sharp tip, and this sharp tips are really, really sharp. And it's a US 4, and I really like them. I like the look of them, and they're really lightweight, and I like them. They're kind of sticky. I think they're just aluminum, so they are kind of like a grippy needle, but I enjoyed knitting with them. I'm not really big on, like, I don't knit flat very often on straight needles, so I don't know. I can give you a better review next time, but one thing that I did encounter is that one of the needles, I don't know which one it is now that I'm not using it, but one of the needle tips kept trying to untwist on me, and I kept having to, I think it happened maybe once or twice. I would have to stop and tighten it up really good and then keep going because it would try to untwist on me. So, but I can give you guys a better review on these later if anybody's interested after I've used them some more, which I don't know how long it'll take me to use them more. So anyways, in whips, I've got the Handbrake Cowl that I'm making for my sister. I don't know if this is where I was last time I showed it. I haven't done any work on it since I did the hiatus post, so I don't know where I was the last time I showed you guys on the podcast. But I just did, it's 122 stitches, I think, and I did a cabled rib. And then I decided, after I got through with the rib, I decided I wanted to follow a pattern because I couldn't think of a stitch pattern I really wanted to just do. So I looked at the Handbrake Cal, and it was really cheap, and it went to benefit cancer. So I just was like, hey, I'm just going to buy it, and I'll probably knit more of them. I think Tyler said that he might wear one of those cowls since it's pretty basic. So that's just what I'm doing for this. And then I've got the traveling cable mitts, fingerless gloves. I have got a lot of work on this done since the last time I showed you guys, because I haven't worked on it in the past several days just because the cables are really tedious because it's a lot of cabling. Every other row has cabling on it, and it is kind of tedious, and I feel like it's not really, I can't really take it to church or anything because then I'd be focusing more on this. Like, I need something more mindless to take to church, but I do enjoy working on it. It is a fun knit. I'm kind of worried that once I finish this one, it's going to take me forever to do the second one because it is so much cabling. But this is the left one, and I got the thumb gusset done. I like these because it's got the 2x2 rib all the way across the palm, and I think that's pretty cool. So I've got my thumb gusset done. Can I show you guys this? Let me see. Can't. Okay, my thumb doesn't really want to go all the way in there. There we go. Okay. So you can kind of see, it's kind of cool looking, the gusset. This has got like a line of increases going up it. And then those are the cables. So I just have the hand to knit, which I think the fingers go to like around here or something, and then the thumb. And then I'll be done with that. It's just, there's a lot of cabling. So I've taken a break from that. And hopefully, I mean, that was a really fast knit because I'm using, instead of double point, I like double pointed needles, don't get me wrong, and I like magic loop. But knitting in the round like this, like on a circular, is so fast. I mean, I think for anybody, right? It's just really ridiculously fast. So this is Chow Goo needles, and it's a 12-inch circular needle, and it is a US 5, which is a 3.75 millimeter. And I mean, it's flying off the needles just because of the small circumference, circular, which I love so much. And if I could do this for the rest of my life and never have to use magic loop or DPNs again, I probably would, just because I really love it. It's so fast and quick. So who knows, maybe I will get those done and then be able to get, because I do really want to wear them because I have cold hands, and I think it would be really nice to have that. I'm always like forcing my husband to hold my hand because he's got warm hands. And I forgot to say, but on the Handbrake Cowl, I'm using 16-inch circulars, so all my stitches are really squished up on it. And it's a 9-inch, a US 9, 9-inch. It's a US 9, and they're just Knit Picks options. The nickel plated, and that's all my whips. No, it's not. Sorry, I lied. The big one. The biggie. This one I did not, you guys have not seen on the podcast yet. I showed it last week on the blog though. And this is I have the pattern. Oh, this is the Elborn shawl. She's very pretty. Here's a picture of the lace. And then the whole shawl. So see, it starts with small stripes and then the stripes get bigger. And I am done with the striping, and I'm onto the lace. I did extra big stripes, so here's my little stripes. And then you're supposed to have the same number of little stripes as you do big stripes, but I have 2 extra big stripes because I finished the stripes and I was still on my first balls of yarn. And I had 2 balls because the pattern, all the pattern says is it tells you what yarn she used. It said that she used Tosh Merino Light, which was 420 yards, and she used 2 skeins. She used 1 skein of color A, 1 skein of color B, was what the pattern said. Otherwise, it had no yardage written. So I was like, okay, well, she probably used the whole skeins. So I am using Knit Picks palette in mulberry and almond. The purple is mulberry and the brown is almond. And those skeins only come with 231 yards. So I bought 4. I bought 2 mulberry and 2 almond, thinking that I would have to use all of them. And I didn't. I got all the way through the striping and had a whole lot of almond in my first skein, and my mulberry was getting there. So whenever I was completely done with the striping, after I had put in 2 extra stripes, I've used a couple of yards of my second ball of mulberry, and I am on the lace, and I am in row, I think about to start row 9 of the lace. Yeah, I'm about to start row 9 of the lace, and I am still on my first skein. I have this much, so not much. I could probably get 2 rows out of this. One of lace and one of just purling back. And then I have this skein, which is obviously not even started. And then my other purple skein is up on the table, and it's squishy. Like, this isn't very squishy because it's full, but that one is a little bit squishy, but I really don't think I used that much from it. I think I only used a couple of rows, so just maybe a couple yards. So that was kind of frustrating, and I don't know what I'm going to use that extra yarn for, because it's not superwash or anything, so I can't really make a toy out of it unless I plan to felt it, so we'll see. It's kind of frustrating, but I kind of wish the pattern had written some yardage. When I realized that I wasn't even going to use up more than half of my yarn, I needed to make it bigger because I needed to be using more yarn, and I also wanted it to be bigger. So anyways, enough of that rant. I've got it to where I think it's a pretty good size. And I mean, there's still increases on each end. So that's it. And I've decided to name it my peanut butter jelly shawl because the colors are peanut butter and jelly. And I have like so many stitch markers on it. I don't really think I need them anymore, but I did row 1 and row 2 and then was doing row 3. My count was way off, basically. And so I ripped it back to the beginning and started again. And the first time I did it, I placed stitch markers every time I finished a repeat. But then I got to the end and I was like out of stitch markers in my box, and I didn't want to get up and like go find, I knew I had more stitch markers laying around. I just didn't want to get up and find them. So whenever I ripped back and started again, I did get up and get the extra stitch markers, and I made sure, and I found out a couple places where I messed up. So I made sure that I placed stitch markers and counted to make sure I had 10 stitches for the repeat, and then placed a stitch marker, and then I would do another repeat, count back to make sure it was 10 stitches, place the thing. And that worked. So I've got my stitches right now, and I probably don't need the stitch markers anymore now that I've got the lace established, but I like having them. It's just helpful. But you see, if you don't know how to read a chart, I recommend it. It makes it really easy because instead of having to read the instructions, like if you put down something to do something really quick and then you have to get back and you have to get up and then come back to it in the middle of a row or something, even if you're in between repeats, like you finished a repeat and then you got up, it's really easy to just glance down at the chart instead of having to read to see what you're doing and then read your lace. It's really easy to just look at the chart, say, oh, okay, and keep going. And also, if you think that chart reading is daunting, don't. It's really simple, especially if you find a good pattern like this one, where the chart is so simple. It's a basic 10 stitch repeat. Everything is written out for you. It's just really simple. Then it's not scary at all. You can do it. And so I would just pick something that has a very simple lace motif, lace pattern, maybe on the edge or something where it's just basic stitch repeat. Like I would definitely recommend Elborn Shawl for someone who's learning to do lace and learning to read charts, because it's really easy, and otherwise it's garter stitch and increases. And also, if you want to do lace and you think it's scary and you're worried that it would be too hard, stitch markers are your best friend. It seems kind of just basic, self-explanatory, like duh, but really, they really are. Because like I said, for this one, it's a 10 stitch repeat. So when I'm knitting along and so let's say I do this first repeat between these two stitch markers, right? Because this is my edge, that doesn't count. So let's say I do this 10 stitch repeat between these two stitch markers, and I get to this stitch marker, so I go back and I want to make sure I did it right, so I count back. I've got 10 stitches, I can move on. Let's say I have 9 stitches. Then I realize that I did all of the decreases I'm supposed to do, but I missed a yarn over, right? Then I can just tink back. Instead of getting like 2 rows later and realizing that you really messed up somewhere and having to rip it back, you can just tink back within that 10 stitches, and it just makes it really easy. And even if you get to like where I am, where I think I've got it down and I think I can get rid of the stitch markers, it's just helpful to have them there, because then if I think I did mess up somewhere, or if I look down and realize that doesn't look right, I can look back within my within my spaces of 10 or whatever. And it's fun to knit lace, like once you get the hang of it, especially a pattern like this. It's very potato chippy, where I can just sit and go and go and go and go and go while I'm watching a TV show. And I would recommend it. I mean, if you're not doing lace just because you think it's scary, that was me. And now I'm planning more shawls and lace. And before I did my grandmother's shawl, which I showed a couple episodes back, I had never done lace and I had never done a shawl, and now I'm like really addicted to shawls and lace. And so it's a lot of fun, and go for it. If you're new to knitting and you want to learn a new thing, then do lace. It's a lot of fun. If you like cables, then you'll like lace. Excuse me, I really need a drink of water. Okay. Anyways, that's everything. That's all my whips and stuff for this week. If you can hear Rowan, I'm sorry. I'll talk about plans. I have that, let me get my thoughts together. I have that Eden Cottage yarn, if you guys remember. It's the bright pink. I didn't bring it over here with me, but it's the bright pink. It's 75%, I think, superwash merino, but it might just be merino. I think it's 75% superwash though, and 25% silk, and it's just really gorgeous and bright pink. And it is their Titus 4-ply in the Alpine colorway. And it's gorgeous and beautiful and special. Special because it was a gift and it's from the UK, and I don't know when I'll ever be able to get more of that yarn. So I wanted to do something special with it. It'd make a good sock yarn. The silk would make it hard wearing, but I don't want it to be socks. I want it to be something special, like a shawl. And I thought, since it's such a bright pink, it'd be a really great shawl because it would just be a really bright pop of color. Then it became like a quest to find the perfect shawl. I guess I could have made it into mittens, but then they would get dirty. So I really had my mind set on having that be a shawl. So I found the Do Shawl by M. Monska, which I actually watch her podcast, but I've been so behind on podcast watching lately that I hadn't seen her release that and stuff. And she has one size that is for one skein of yarn and takes 430 yards, which is a 400-meter skein, which is what my ECY yarn is. Excuse me. So I really want to do that. If you haven't seen Do Shawl, look it up. It's gorgeous. So that is going to be perfect for this yarn. That's what I want to do for that. And I also, Mina from Knitting Expat just finished her Exploration Station shawl. And it's really pretty. And now Molly from A Homespun House is making one for her husband, which I love the colors that she's using. And now I have to make one. It's so beautiful. So now I really want to make that. It's going to take a lot of yarn. It's a big thing. But, and I really, really want to, at some point, make the Vita shawl by Mina. The big one. The big, huge size. Because she has a small size and a medium size and a giant size. And I want the giant size because when she put it on, it looks so comfy and just cozy. And that's what I want. So I really want to make those. I started on the ribbing for Rowan's sweater. I am going to rip it back because all I did was I decreased some stitches and then started on with my size 5 needle. I didn't like how it looks. So I'm going to rip that back and just wait until I can get the size 4 that I need. And then I'll do that again, do that ribbing. And then when I get the size 4, I'll be able to cast on the Do Shawl. After I finish this sweater, I'll be able to do the Do Shawl in that ECY yarn. So I'm really excited for that. And I really am ready to have Rowan's sweater finished because it's still kind of up and down here, the weather, but there have been a couple of days where it's kind of cool. So he's had to wear a sweatshirt, and I just have been like, I wish he had that sweater done so he could do that. So I guess that's a good transition into chatter. For those of you that live in the U.S., you've heard about Hurricane Patricia, I'm sure. It's this, record-breaking hurricane. It's a big one, and it's hitting Mexico. So people who live around the Gulf of Mexico are getting it pretty bad. Today is the first sunny day we've had since Saturday. Since Saturday, it has been raining nonstop. It didn't rain all day yesterday, I'll admit that. It was really cloudy and gloomy yesterday, but it was not raining all day. I think it sprinkled a little bit in the morning and that was it. But it rained all night Saturday, all day Sunday. It was steady, and then it would get hard, and then it would get slow on Sunday, and then it pretty much rained all day Monday. There were a couple of times where it would stop and then it would start sprinkling and raining again, and then it rained all day Monday night, and then I think it finally stopped yesterday, except for yesterday morning it sprinkled a little bit, and it's done today. It seems might be a little bit cloudy, but I think it's pretty okay. I mean, there's a lot more sun today than it has been. I hope you guys have a really great week, and I hope you have lots of time for knitting. Happy knitting, and bye.